Welcome to episode 197 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How you doing, Warren?
I'm here in spirit. I'm good. How are you?
And you're still a bachelor.
Good to be here. Still a bachelor for one more day. Yes. So I had to, I did an emergency cleanup and undid the damage, damage that was done to the house in the meantime and all that good stuff.
What were you doing?
I'm just picturing you sliding through the hallway in the house like risky business.
Yeah. I had to go to Guido the Killer Pimp's house to get my egg back, my Fabergé egg.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that other voice you're hearing, Jeff Gamet's back on the show. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. And I did not have to go hunt down my stolen Fabergé egg.
Not from Guido. Yeah. Guido the Killer Pimp.
Guido got it. So, lots of stories this week. I found a lot of great topics, so it'll probably be pretty news heavy this week, which is okay. I think we'll have some good topics, but some big releases, security releases that were just released today as we record this. We'll be diving into that and lots of other great topics, but why not? Let's go and jump right into the stories for this week. First story, man arrested for tracking car by attaching Apple Watch to a wheel. A man in Nashville, Tennessee had been arrested for tracking the location of his girlfriend by attaching an Apple Watch to his vehicle and using a tracking app. And he was arrested and charged with attaching an electronic tracking device to a vehicle. And people don't use your Apple Watch as a way of doing that. We already had enough controversy with AirTags, and now he's using an Apple Watch.
There's so much wrong with this story, though. I mean,
I know.
I'll just go with the three things that come to my mind. Is one, when you take off your Apple Watch, it locks in theory, so you can't do anything with that. Two is, how do you not notice Apple Watch on your steering wheel as you're driving? And I'll go with number three with,
it was on the steering wheel.
I thought it was on the wheel.
I thought it was on like a wheel. So it's going
it says
spinning around really fast.
I just read wheel. I'm like, steering wheel. Oh, okay. The wheel, the tire, or maybe the spare tire. I don't know. Maybe I should open up the article. But, and then, and can you really be arrested for tracking your girlfriend?
Sure.
Well, or wife?
If she chooses to press charges, yes.
Can you?
Sure.
So if I track my wife, and she doesn't know, and I'm not, but if I track when we have Find Our phones enabled, we can find each other. But if I was tracking her without her noticing, could she press charges? The wife?
Oh, maybe.
I believe so.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
this is in Tennessee, so
yeah.
I mean,
in Tennessee, who knows? But
in Nashville, for that matter,
to someone does not reduce the level of privacy and security that that the law affords you.
So when your spouse, and again, if your spouse accuses you of cheating and hires a PI or something like that to track you, that's illegal. What we're saying.
Well, hiring someone to track you is different from planting a tracker on you.
You would think,
but if you're
hiring somebody
point,
would be even more invasive, I would think, to hire a PI to track somebody than to put a stupid watch in something.
Well, I didn't say the law made sense.
Okay,
it made no sense, but
if
I would
have
a problem.
Go
with
ahead.
It. I would have a problem with it. I would definitely have a problem with it.
Yeah,
I mean, would it cause a fight? Yeah. Would I be able to press charges against a girlfriend or a spouse? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if you're at the point where you feel that you need to plant trackers on your partner and or hire someone to investigate them.
What about an 18-year-old kid? My kid, he's 18. What if I plant something on his to make sure?
They're an adult. He's 18.
Can he press charges?
Yeah.
I'm sure this happens all the time.
He could. You good?
All right. Well,
I mean, I guess the whole principle is I agree with the story. How, like you said, Warren, how would the Apple Watch first off be able to do the tracking without it being unlocked?
right.
Is the Apple Watch still tracking? There isn't really much to other details in this story other than that
if
it's
you
put on a wheel.
it on something like so, if you take your watch off and lay it against a surface and then unlock it, doesn't it stay unlocked?
No, it's supposed to
Not necessarily.
Although with betas, it's been weird. I've noticed on the beta cycle that it's supposed to be locked when it's not. Like,
yep, mine is staying unlocked. I'm holding my watch firmly against my desk, and I unlocked it.
Laid up,
and it's
laying up against the tire.
Well, that defeats the purpose, right? Because the whole point of the locking feature is it has to detect your body on it, and then once it comes off, it's supposed to unlock. It's supposed to lock. Anywho,
it's a dilemma. Let's move on. Next story here. Yeah, I think we beat that one to death. Google released Chrome 100 for iOS and as well as desktop with an updated icon. Google released this week version 100, the latest version of its browser that's available, of course, on Macs and PCs, iPhones and iPads, Android devices, all the devices. But of course, all they can really talk about is a major icon update since 2014, and that was probably the most important thing is. But of course, it did address a lot of security flaws and such.
I
know. Did I update it? Let me see. Yeah. On Mac, it still has that white background, so you really can't even notice. But I didn't even look on iOS to see if it was up to date yet. But I guess version 100 is here.
Doesn't look a day over 95.
I don't think it does. So download it. Keep secure. Any other thoughts?
Jeffrey?
Didn't think so.
Actually, I do have a thought. It's okay. I am watching for people to post about the websites that break when they check version numbers. Yeah. Which I'm clearly not that concerned about it because I had forgotten about it until you brought the story up.
I put it on the day it came out. I haven't. I mean, and I use it as my default. So I haven't noticed anything. To be honest with you.
In fact, I was talking to a developer today and mentioned to her that it was. That the version 100 is coming up because they'd updated the website and doing a lot of testing. And oh my God, it's on 100. So they were a little concerned they didn't test it because it just got released today. So, yeah, people, I think, I don't know about on the iOS side of things because obviously Safari is the back end of any browser anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is going to be much pertinent to this. So always interesting. Next story here is Apple stores will now decline to repair iPhones reported as missing. Apple stores and Apple authorized service providers will now be alerted if an iPhone has been reported as missing in the GSMA device registry when a customer brings in the device to be serviced. This was on Mac Rumors according to an internal memo that they obtained. If an Apple technician sees a message in their internal Mobile Genius or GSX systems indicating that the device has been reported missing, they are instructed to decline the repair. Well, am I not surprised that this happened? Because why hadn't they been doing this in the first place?
Right.
Because why would you be doing? I mean, that's what my first thought was on this, right, Jeff?
Yeah. The big surprise for me was that this wasn't the policy all along.
Very bizarre. So don't just take some rogue iPhone and think you're going to be able to get it repaired.
I mean, the worst that's going to do it. I mean, if the worst they're doing is just saying we're not going to repair it, I guess I guess that's okay. I mean, there should
if
there should be a little bit
stolen, then they'll.
That's even worse.
Authorities.
It's stolen.
Well, I guess they don't even say they tell. I thought I read they don't even notify the police. They just say we're not going to fix it, which is insane too, to be honest with you. But
yeah, better be safe. Let's see. Next story here. Apple is now going to be allowing reader apps to link out to membership websites. In fact, I think I had this as a story, as a topic too here, but let's go ahead and roll with this here. After announcing that change in September 2021, Apple has informed developers that it now will allow quote unquote reader apps to offer a link to an external website so it can create and manage accounts outside of the App Store. In this update, this was released this week, so we record. Apple announced that it's updated its guidelines surrounding in-app links to external websites, and there's been no previously there was no provision in place for this. So I think this is kind of about time. I mean, a lot of developers have been complaining, and in fact, we can talk about the reader apps, but I'll talk about other apps here in the topic here in a little bit here. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is good. I mean, Apple can't control this anymore. They really can't. And we know that with what happened with the Epic trial too. I mean, so I think that kind of sparked it, that Apple's kind of back, stepping back and saying, hey, I guess we need to do this.
Well, doing it on their own is much better than doing it under legislation.
Legislation, right. So glad they decided to do this. Anything you want to add, Warren?
No, I mean, as Jeff said, I think Apple's gonna slowly start allowing things on their own, just because they know they're probably gonna have to, and something like this is, not like sideloading. There's no risk or security issues, so why not? It's money. It's all about the Benjamins on this one. So,
oh yeah,
it's all about the Benjamins.
Next story: YouTube TV is finally rolling out picture-in-picture to the iPhone and the iPad. This was a 9to5 Mac. This was promised back in February that YouTube TV was going to roll out a picture-in-picture feature. As I stated, it comes as the main YouTube for iOS client is still only previewing an identical capability. Excuse me. YouTube did tweet today as we record this that picture-in-picture is now rolling out to iPhones and tablets running iOS 15. So, like I said, to go through much of that here, it's about time. I mean, just like any other of the apps, I use the Xfinity Stream app, and they do it, which is great. Why couldn't be YouTube TV doing this too?
Yeah, isn't picture-in-picture built into the OS, so it's more about calling the hooks? So
exactly,
yeah,
and
why wasn't
YouTube didn't do it? It should have been there, and then the regular YouTube app was always, they had finally put that in there too.
It doesn't
before this, so
but not for non-payers, right? Because it doesn't work for me still. If you don't subscribe, it goes away.
They were supposed to change it, because I am a premium subscriber to YouTube.
They were supposed to change it for everybody, but still, it doesn't. It doesn't. If you quit YouTube, if you switch apps, the window goes away.
Yeah, that is strange. I just don't know why that would. Yeah. But those of you who are YouTube TV subscribers, you should be happy that you can do that now. This was an interesting story because I don't know why this network won't die. The 9to5 Mac. T-Mobile is delaying Sprint's 3G network shutdown as it migrates legacy customers to 5G. According to a report here, it's delaying its shutdown. Again, it was originally scheduled for March 31st, which is as we're recording this, and the new date is now May 31st. If true, this wouldn't be the first delay. The carriers had to plan to phase out the network in January, but announced it would extend it to the end of March because of issues with quote unquote partners. With the end of March, this week, or actually it's today, there's a possibility that the third delay could happen. So they don't know here. I think this whole Sprint T-Mobile merger has not been pleasant for Sprint subscribers, because I've talked to a lot of people that when they try to make any changes or, you're on the Sprint, we can't do anything. It isn't ready yet. But to be delaying 3G networks, which is supposed to be gone, I don't know what T-Mobile's deal is.
My company sent out all sorts of emails about it and warnings because we have a bunch of Sprint people, I guess. And probably a lot of
Right.
pushback is from companies, too. Just they're probably. I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming my company is happy about the delay because they seem pretty rushed to make sure everybody was off of the 3G.
Well, they should be at this point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how many legacy devices are still in use out there? Well, apparently enough that T-Mobile had
Fair amount.
Yeah. But I imagine this is just a major headache for Sprint users and for the Sprint team that's now part of T-Mobile, because you're taking two completely independent, incredibly complex systems, and you're sitting here just going, trying to smash them together.
Try to put them together.
Yeah.
It's not good. Not easy.
There's a lot of 3G stuff out there that's not, consumer phones too. There's a lot of things running on 3G.
That's a really good point. My APAP machine is 3G, I believe.
The car I sold, my Audi, was still running its thing on 3G.
Yep.
So.
I keep forgetting about that, and I shouldn't, since
I wonder if my
rely on
CPAP
devices.
CPAP is probably the same as mine. That modem that's in there is probably 3G.
Yeah.
But better update it. Next story, and as Apple announced with TV Plus, they're going to be broadcasting. They have a agreement with Major League Baseball to show Friday Night Baseball, and they've released the schedule. They partnered up with MLB, and you'll see 2 games every Friday, which is kind of neat. And for those of you who are baseball fans, not everybody is, but they'll be available for anyone who has Apple TV Plus subscription, and you can watch it on any of the ways on the web, or you also can use an Apple TV or any other device that uses it. So, and the article in the show notes shows for a limited time, I think, they're making it available for free. Right. So you can check it out. They're trying to entice people. That, and that's the next story will be here in a second about MLB, but that's kind of what MLB always does. They do like a trial, or the first week of the season, I'm going to get you to entice you to start watching games, and this is great. Let me subscribe.
Sure.
But $5 a month for TV Plus, you really can't beat it. But then it shows the schedule of all the teams that will be playing for the entire season, which is great. So, but again, you got to have to be a baseball fan in order to do this, and I don't think not everybody on this panel is. So, but I'm glad to see Apple doing this.
I've heard of baseball.
All right. Yeah. Speaking of baseball, one other story. I am a baseball fan, so I am excited about this. Every year, T-Mobile through the T-Mobile Tuesdays offers free MLB.TV subscription ahead of the 2022 season. Of course, they were delayed a little bit because of their strike, but next Tuesday, from when we record this, the carriers will offer a free full season subscription of MLB.TV, which is about $150 value. That's what they usually charge for a subscription. So, and I've been doing it for the last few years. I think it's awesome. And that's probably one of the more exciting things a lot of T-Mobile customers like, to the fact that they do offer a lot of cool perks, this being one of them. So just wanted to throw that up, and everybody knows that that's going to be happening. And next story here, this was also, this is a 9 to 5 Mac. The Wall Street Journal noted the Apple TV Plus, praised by quality over quantity, nearly doubled its revenue in 2021. Apple TV Plus bet on high quality content over quality, and it has paid off at the Oscars. Of course, that this past week, and during the Oscars, Coda won Best Picture, and is one of the very first. It is the first streaming service that got won Best Picture for a movie that they were showing. Mm-hmm. Of course, Ted Lasso's won a lot of awards, which is great. So. Granted, Apple TV Plus doesn't have a deep catalog like Netflix and Disney Plus has, but they're saying it's become a critical darling, apart from the Oscar-awarding Coda TV that also got a lot of attention with other movies too. But I think this is cool, and I really think the fact that Apple has attracted two a TV show and a movie for critically acclaimed and awards really shows that they brought some quality product on there.
And they've received awards for other shows too, outside of the Oscars, like Greyhound won.
Greyhound, I think.
And several of the TV shows have won additional awards. Yeah, I think Apple's doing a great job with Apple TV Plus.
Absolutely. And next story here. If you receive a text from yourself, it's definitely spam.
Or
I don't think you text yourself, or it could have been from Jeff.
If you get a text from Jeff, it's spam too.
Yeah, I've been lonely. I've been texting myself, and then I had to report myself for spam because it was completely inappropriate.
I used to do. I mean, I used to text myself like reminders and stuff like that. You can do it.
Yeah, but this actually is in here, and the update that's in this article says a Verizon spokesperson commented on the situation. It was in an email to The Verge, actually. Verizon is aware of bad actors are sending spam text messages to some customers, which appear to be coming from the customer's own number. They're actively working on blocking these messages and been engaging with U.S. law enforcement to stop the source of the fraudulent activity. So I guess the moral of the story is here, just obviously be aware of any spam that you're getting, especially if it's coming from yourself.
Or a bad actor such as Will Smith.
As bad actors, yeah. You had to throw Will Smith in there.
He's a bad actor. So.
Okay. Moving on. Apple is purportedly planning to bring more of its financial services in-house. This was in Apple World today. A Bloomberg report says that Apple is planning to bring more of its financial services in-house, such as lending, risk assessment, fraud analysis, credit checks, and dispute handling. The project, dubbed Breakout, may also include tools for calculating interest, rewards, approving transactions, reporting data. Currently, of course, Apple works with Goldman Sachs as their core card for the Apple Card, Green Dot for Apple Cash, Citizens Bank for their iPhone upgrade program. So they've spread their wealth of different banks. But I mean, if I do recall, we did have a story last week about them purchasing that UK based credit service. That to me, this seems kind of related. If that's the case, that they're maybe they are looking at something like this to get into the financial. It just shows more services they're really trying to jump into.
It's like legal money laundering.
Okay.
Is it actually money laundering if it's legal?
It's clean money laundering. It's a clean version of it. So I don't know, but it is. That's sort of what they're doing. I mean, in the theory, that's what they're doing, is spreading the finances all over the place. They have so much money, they don't know where to put it at this point. So they're just, inventing places to put their money at this point. So, a lot of money.
Yep. It's going to be interesting. I think it's more services that we're going to start seeing from Apple. Okay. This was an interesting article. This just was reported today as we record. Apple Maps incorporates the HAAS safety cloud to improve roadway hazard alerts. Apple Maps in the United States have incorporated real-time roadway hazard information from the safety cloud and making the app better at notifying users of upcoming safety issues. According to a blog post announcing the integration, the Haas Safety Cloud is the most comprehensive and trusted digital alerting platform for roadway safety. Drivers that are approaching emergency vehicles, incident responders, work zones, and other hazards on the road sourced by the Safety Cloud will now receive an alert in Apple Maps, which I have seen those before. So this is great. I think it's great. And just shows that Maps is really is expanding, beyond what it originally was designed to be doing. So they keep adding more features. What do you think, Jeff?
I think that saying Apple is taking Maps beyond what it was designed for is not right. I think Apple has intended Maps to be this full, all-encompassing navigation and geographic information system, and this is just another part of that. And they're just doing little steps along the way, and
Yeah.
and we'll see more information coming in over time.
Yep. Not bad. As Warren's throwing his toy for Lola.
No, I'm here. But yeah, it's close to like what Waze is doing, right? I guess they're trying to stuff like that with I always found the things on Waze interesting because it takes a little bit of taking your focus off the road to report that kind of stuff too.
A little bit.
Yeah, like my wife. I never do it.
Basically, wazing or driving. You can't. There's no way to do both.
I don't do it. My wife does it, and she'll like see a cop or an accident, and she'll like and like start swerving, she'll start swerving to report whatever it is that somebody else reported. I'm like, I don't think this is working.
And the person behind her is reporting her in ways.
Right. This is
getting her license plate.
That's how you know it's working. When you see a whole bunch of people swerve, and you know that there's a problem.
And it's just good to see that they keep improving it. That's for sure. This story, real quick, death knell sounds for iPhone 6 as the Twitter app drops support. Oh no. Twitter has ended support for iOS 13, along with it, the iPhone 6. Owners of this 8-year-old smartphone have taken to social media with their limit this nail in the coffin. We know the iPhone 6 is very old, and it's time to move on, people. And if Twitter is something that has to gauge telling you, I think you need to upgrade, I don't know what else can.
Old phones and Twitter, my two favorite things, right? So I'm sad about all this.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean,
yeah, two things I never would have any interest in worrying about. So.
Oh, well. And then last story this week, Apple is considering adding new flash memory suppliers to protect iPhone supply. Apple is reportedly concerned about its over-reliance on Japan for iPhone flash memory and is exploring working with a Chinese supplier. I always thought they were working with Chinese suppliers. Apple's key flash memory supplier, Kioska, I think that's how you say it, had limited production in February 2022 when raw materials were found to be contaminated. There were no details of the contamination, but between Kioska and another supplier, Western Digital, it estimated that the issue led to a drop in production of 6.5 exabytes or 65 million terabytes of storage. So they're looking to mitigate this, according to Bloomberg, future risk by adding alternative suppliers. Unspecified sources say Apple is already using Micron technology and Samsung, but it's testing working with Chinese state-owned memory technologies as well. The source says that the NAND flash memory chips is specifically because Apple wants to diversify its supply chain, as it typically does. So yeah, that's a lot of memory that's contaminated. So I'm not surprised. I mean, with the way the supply chain restraints have been as of late, that they did this. Any thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Yep, makes sense.
So, all right, that was the news for this week. Beta? What beta? It's 2 weeks in a row now. No beta.
Warren, how are you doing? I mean, are you okay?
Yeah, do I need to give you some
No, I'm actually
some Valium?
I'm even more upset that they snuck out like a release without even putting it through beta today, which was like, that's not fair. So this update that came out today was not in beta at all. So we'll talk about that.
No, it wasn't. And good lead in for us here. Yeah. Apple did release a bunch of updates across all of the platforms, fixing various security flaws, and specifically there was battery drain issues with the iPhone. A lot of people were complaining at 15.4 that there was some battery. There was some battery bugs fixes that may be draining more quickly. Mm-hmm. I hadn't noticed it. I mean, I don't know if you did, Warren, with your 13 Pro Max, and seems like it was holding out okay. But it's saying this update includes the following bug fixes for your iPhone. Battery may drain more quickly than expected after updating to 15.4. Braille devices may become unresponsive when navigating text or displaying an alert. Made for iPhone hearing devices may lose connection with third-party apps. iOS and iPadOS had a fix of the Apple AVD issue where it could allow an application to execute arbitrary code and kernel privileges. So there's some security bug updates too. So they did 15.4.1 for iOS and iPadOS. There's also tvOS and HomePod got an update as well. And then we didn't even talk about watchOS. That was a pretty interesting bug that was added to that too. There was some pretty arbitrary code that was running on that as well. So all around there was a it's interesting to see even Mac OS got some love as well. So there was a lot of security fixes this week. It looks kind of interesting to see it happen all at once here.
So a little PSA real fast on this is if you have the beta profile installed on any of these devices, you didn't update. I'm like, this is sad. So then I'm like, all right, let me try to remove a beta profile on one of them, and that does it. So,
I figured right away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hoping that the HomePod software update really does fix a lot of the Siri related issues, because
I just did mine as we were talking.
Yeah, I started the updates as the show was starting, so we'll see if after the show if my HomePods are any better. But I'm at the point now where, like, if I want to play music, I tell the A lady to play music from Apple Music for me, so I can actually have it happen.
The A lady, the A lady is great with that too, because if you ask for a song, she'll just find where it is, what service it's on, which is really good,
and just crank it on out.
Which that should be like that should be the default for almost all the streaming services, video and audio. We were talking about the Apple TV services before, but I mean, there's really nothing out there that where you'd say I want to play this movie, and it will look at all the services you're subscribed to and start playing it on that service. And that's
that was Apple's goal with the TV app, but
it never happened.
And we can blame the studios for that.
Sure, we could,
and the networks,
and we will.
Yeah, but go out, get your updates. They'll be in your queue soon. But speaking of in your queue, I've always wondered this, because a lot of people, I tell people to go up do their updates. Of course, the three of us run our updates as soon as they come out. In most cases, well, we know Warren does, but even before. So, but this was interesting. Someone had reached out to Craig Federighi, and he actually responded back, explaining why iOS auto updates often arrive several weeks late. And then when it comes to downloading iOS software updates, Apple users can reasonably divide into two camps: those who manually seek out updates, that's us, the moment Apple releases them, and those who are happy to just let their devices automatically update it, which, of course, if you go into the automatic updates, you turn on download on iOS updates and install iOS updates. And
never works.
Apparently it doesn't do you very good, because it doesn't happen right away.
Or ever.
So while it's generally not acknowledged that manually tapping into settings, general software updates is the faster option, Apple has never really explained why the auto updates tend to come through to users sometimes days or even weeks later, until now. An interested iPhone user had put out a question in an email to Craig Federighi, and in the email, he explained that he had turned on the auto updates, and yet 2 weeks later, it didn't show up. So Craig responded back to him and says, we incrementally roll out new iOS updates by first making them available for those that explicitly seek them out in the settings. And then 1 to 4 weeks later, after we've received feedback on the update, we ramp up rolling out those devices with auto update enabled. So that, and of course, Craig said, hope this helps. Craig. Go ahead, Jeff. What do you think of this?
Well, I mean, it helps understand why, when when you're talking with family members who have auto update and install turned on, and it's like 3 weeks after the update comes out and it still hasn't happened. Now we know why. But holy crap. I mean, some of those auto updates or some of those updates, like today's, include important security fixes, and leaving people for days, weeks, a month before those security fixes install automatically. That's bad.
Yeah. This update should be pushed.
I find the same thing actually with app updates too. I always have my app updates set to automatic, and never, not once, I don't think has it ever done an automatic update. You'll think that it's updated, and then you'll scroll down to refresh it, and then you have to update everything. So I've said it before in other forums that I've never seen that work, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned that, because in this article, it also says, in a somewhat related point made by about Redditors, Apple hasn't explained why some app auto updates are sometimes very late to be delivered to users, but perhaps the reasoning is the same: server protection and the ability to action feedback. I mean, maybe they're doing the same thing with apps. But I go in and just, if something is ready to be updated, I'll just run through them.
But I'll pick up an iPad 2 or 3 weeks. If I'm like on vacation, don't have my iPad, I'll come back, and auto updates are
90 updates,
and there'll be 90 updates. So I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, I know what's going on. It's not auto updating.
That's what I'm thinking is happening. Yeah, I think you might be right on that.
Yep.
And don't get me started on my wife's phone. Every so often I'll grab my wife's phone, and I'm like, there'll be like 75 updates like on the batch, and then I'll go in there and I'll scroll down, and it's like 375 apps to update. I'm like, this is
oh my gosh,
pathetic.
And I bet her browser pages, she's probably got 500 plus open too, right?
She does. She has Internet Explorer.
No. Not for long.
Yeah, I hear it runs great on the iPhone. It's just a little behind.
It's a little behind.
Just a little.
It's also losing its compatibility on the iPhone 6 at some point.
Yeah, that's when
Makes
you know
sense.
the iPhone 6 is really done for.
When IE doesn't work on there, that's the problem. So interesting.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about we talked about earlier about the Apple links to their own websites, and kind of get your guys' view of services like Netflix and Hulu. I think that's going to be a huge thing that allows them to be able to have that rule in place, so they can go out and get their subscribers signed up, and like magazines will be able to get the digital magazines directly, and not blocking them from doing that, and making them go to the browser to do it, and adding all those hoops. But I think it really was a great thing that Apple did. And I just wanted your guys' thoughts, like specifically like for streaming services like Netflix and Hulu. Do you think this is good? They have to be happy about this decision, wouldn't you think?
Of course. This is one of the things that they've wanted for a long time. So it's, I'm sure that companies like Netflix are very happy that they can start doing their external linking.
Don't they have a nasty message? There's one that has a nasty message. I don't remember what it is, but
Netflix had a nasty message.
They said you need to go to the website.
Yeah. There was one point where Amazon did a message. It was like passive aggressive, but I think that was related more to Comixology users.
You're right.
But yeah, Netflix they've had the mean message.
They had the mean message on there. Yep.
Okay, so it's good news for that, for sure. Now, Apple did release today. They opened up their Apple Business Essentials and expanded to all small businesses. Today was the official launch, and the service was in beta, and now it's actually officially released as we record. and any small business can now set up and participate in it. What Business Essentials is basically is it's available for businesses up to 500 employees, and it's subscription based. Allows you to provide device management features. So for those of you who don't want to spend the big bucks on something like Jamf or any other mobile device management service, and it does provide iCloud storage and 24/7 access to Apple support through Apple Care for business and new additions. I just want to, Jeff, I want to kind of get your thoughts on what this is. Is this service is going to be something that Apple is really going to flourish with, or is it kind of just they're just trying to compete with it? I know they, if I remember, I forgot the company that they bought, but they did buy that one company. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember who they bought, but yes, they.
Yeah, I mean, I remember meeting them at MacTech one year. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I've said it before. So that was kind of where that service came into being, is by doing this. But what do you think? You think these businesses are going to jump on something like this?
I think a lot of businesses will. Like if you're a small business, small medium business, that's getting into having enough Apple gear that you feel it's time to start doing device management, and you want all the other stuff that Apple has. Well, now you can work with the business partner at your local Apple store, pick out all your gear. They get you set up with Business Essentials, and you've got your all-in-one package right there. So I think the convenience is going to be huge for a lot of companies. And my guess is that there'll be a threshold point where people that are using Apple's MDM platform will decide that they need more than what Apple can do, and then they'll roll over into Jamf or Kanji or one of the other services.
Right. What do you think, Warren? You've been working in business supporting devices. Is this something that you think companies will be utilizing more?
I do. I think this is going to take off. I think this is going to be one of their bigger services. It makes sense, and I'm surprised I haven't done anything like it before. So, and I think a lot of companies, especially smaller ones, are I don't want to say scared of Jamf and MDMs and things like that. But there's a misconception that it's really those kind of things are geared towards larger companies, and Jamf really tries to make that seem like that's not the case, right? They offer a free tier for they try to warm me into it, so they do try to get smaller companies to get into it. But I think this would be good. And
it makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
If you're showing up at Apple and you want to buy, we'll keep it small. You need to buy 20 laptops and 20 iPhones
right.
and 20 iPads, and now you're right there, and you say, so how do I set all this up? Yep. Apple doesn't have to say, well, you kind of need to talk to one of these other companies. Now Apple can say, yep, here's all your equipment, and here's how to get it all set up.
Yep. Yeah. And it's their stuff. They should know how to do it. And, I always found it, I don't know about Jamf. I don't know which one we used at one of my other companies. Sorry about that squeaking, but hey, I'm talking.
Oil the dog.
But I forgot what they were using, but it's actually kind of bizarre because some of these MDMs, probably Jamf could bypass Apple ID iCloud locks and things like that. So they could actually wipe the device if it's on part of the MDM. Yeah, so that I was kind of shocked when the first time I spoke to our provisioner. I'm like, at the company I was at, they're like, oh, I could just wipe it. I'm like, what? Really? Because so I'm assuming Apple's going to do something similar to that, but it's all good. It's another choice. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. So not appealing to everybody here that's listening, but it's good awareness to know that businesses are trying to that they do this on a daily basis. They got to protect these devices, especially if they're going to be connecting to a company's network. You want to make sure that that these devices are secure. And Jamf's one of the well-known MDMs, but Apple's that they bought the company and the other company, and now they're jumping into it. Another service. The service is just the services list continues to grow, and see where things go here. So, next topic I wanted to talk about a little bit. I've talked about this in the past, but I thought it was a little overdue to talk about it again. Is podcatchers. Sure, all of us here we're doing a podcast here, but I know a lot of us listen to podcasts. There's a lot of great podcasts out there that we listen to, and if anybody isn't aware, there are other podcatchers out there other than Apple Podcasts. And there's a lot of great ones too. So I like to kind of find out, Jeff, which is your favorite podcatcher? Which one do you use all the time?
I'm actually using Apple's podcast app.
You are? Okay.
Yeah. And it's not because I think it's any better than the others. It's just that that's where I had set up my subscriptions at one point, and I don't have enough pain points to make me transition to something else.
Okay. And Warren, do you use a podcatcher? Do you listen to podcasts? How do you listen to podcasts?
I stick to Apple Podcast app. It's
I'm gonna be outnumbered here.
I mean, I went through this crazy period of my life where I tried a couple different ones, and then I said, why? It's not doing really anything different. The Apple Podcast just works natively better when you go into your car. It does a lot. It works better that way. Although it sometimes does stupid things too. But I tried Marco's. What does he use?
Overcast.
Yeah, I've played with Overcast and Downcast, and I really like both of them.
I think I bought Overcast, and I don't use it. But I mean, so there's nothing bad. I mean, listen, I haven't found a podcast app that was terribly bad. It's just there's I don't know. It doesn't do much that I care about, I guess.
So, Dave, what do you use?
Well, I use Pocket Casts. I think I really like Pocket Casts a lot. I've been using it for a while. I have Downcast. I've used that before, and I like that one. And but I've used Overcast as well. And you're right. You can do a subscription just to the Overcast. Is just if you're just kind of supporting the developer and not having to pay for ads. And the Podcast, I think, is the same way. I don't know. I just like the way Podcast is laid out. I got more control. Apple Podcasts kind of just really gives me it takes too much control, and I don't want to download things right away, because that's what happens if a new episode comes out. And I'm crazy. I probably have, and I mean, you probably have a lot of podcasts listening here. I have this one called The Context Machine. Oh yeah, that one that you listen to all the time. But
I hear that one's great, but
it's pretty awesome here. Those hosts, oof.
Those are crazy.
But I like the way it's laid out. It's in a list view. You can download things when you want to. If you just want to stream them. I like to just stream podcasts. I mean, I have basically unlimited data as it is anyway through T-Mobile, so that doesn't bother me. But some people may be worried about it. You can set it where you can just download them only if you want to listen to them. Of course, if you're traveling, you're on a plane, you may want to do that. But I just like the interface. It really gives a nice view of all the different episodes that are listed, and very easy to discover podcasts. It has a great search feature, able to type things in and be able to search it. I think it's a great app. Downcast is another one that I had been using for a long time, and both the podcast is free, but you pay for a subscription if you want to. Downcast does cost. It's $2.99. And is one of the better. ones out there as well. It works very similar to what I described with the Pocket Casts, giving you a nice interface, being able to search for your podcast. It also has a Mac version of it too, and you can sync between the two of them. That's the other thing too is you want to be able to back up the database. It creates that OMPL database. I think that's the name of it. That you can set it in iCloud to back that up. So for some reason, if the app were ever to crash, because you don't want to lose that nice long list of podcasts that you have to go in there. It does that, and Apple does that too with their podcast
Sometimes
app.
That might not be a bad thing, but yeah, just wipe the field clean. I've thought about doing that and just kind of like starting over with new ones, but
yeah. So Downcast, that's another one that's really good. Overcast that we just talked about, that they just put some new updates in there, and added some different buttons that you can put. So they really changed the interface. I don't know if you've looked in here lately, Jeff, but Overcast has really put some nice new UI in here.
Right, and that's like brand new.
Yeah, it just came out like a couple days ago as we record. Yeah.
So I got a question about those that you use, Dave, because the one complaint I do have with the Apple Podcast app, and I'm looking now, if under my iPhone storage, I'm using 25 gigabytes of podcast storage, and
there you go.
That's crazy because there's no reason I should be doing that. I don't.
That's why. I don't find that I have control in the Apple Podcasts app that allows you to. I mean, you can. I think you got to jump through some hoops to get to saying don't download the apps, because I don't. I just want to just go and look through I have a really long list of podcasts. There are probably podcasts in there I probably haven't listened to in a long time, but I may look through them and just pop. That's it.
I got 15 gig of Jeff in here.
Wow,
you're welcome.
Yeah,
stop using up my storage space, Jeff.
I don't know if you guys do this, but the way my Pocket Casts is laid out, or any podcatcher, I just have a long list, and a lot of them are tech, but I've added some. In fact, I brought it up. What was it? On Mac Voices Live the one week, and I was just listening to the Carson podcast talking about all the behind the scenes of Johnny Carson. So there's a lot of great podcasts beyond tech that we like to talk to.
Mac Voices video is taking up 10 gigs, and I don't even watch it because I watch it live.
There you go. That's the thing. Once you subscribe, it's going to start downloading.
10 gigs of Chuck and Jeff and Dave. That's not good.
That sounds really nice.
So it does.
I mean,
that means
if you're
just
to fill up 10
dedicated.
Gigs, it might as well be all of us.
Yeah, I guess so.
Might as well. Like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, that's always a fun podcast to listen to. I got that in here. But so those are probably the top of the ones I mean, I still have Downcast installed on my iPhone. Even Google Podcasts, they even have one still. I don't know why I haven't still even have this on here, but it was a couple years ago. I wrote an article for iPhone Life magazine about podcatchers, and I had all these installed. So it was just, but there's just so many, and I've got a couple articles in the show notes here, and you don't think about it, but you have other apps like Stitcher. Stitcher is a podcatcher as well,
Spotify,
Spotify can be as well. Yeah, I mean that you have means of being able to listen to us. Tune in is another one. Odyssey, which is the Odyssey's the company, the former CBS radio company, that they have their own. I use that quite a bit because I like to listen. It puts me to sleep. I listen to the local news channel here through Odyssey, but Odyssey has expanded, and not only can you listen to this podcast in Odyssey, you can also listen to a lot of other channels they've created, like music and news and all, and different radio stations of their content across the country. So that's the other cool thing that these podcatchers have. So
I don't know if that's a good I have a few podcasts up on music too, but I don't know if I should name them, because
everybody has their own thing,
like
everybody has their own thing. What they like.
Puts me to sleep too when I listen to it, but that's not no.
I figured.
Sometimes it puts me to sleep while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well. God. really some of the things you just want to like is the being able the way you just control how you access podcasts. And I just I like how Podcatcher does it. It has a sleep timer built right into it when you open up the episode. You can adjust the speed. I don't know about you guys. Do you ever like to listen to podcasts a little faster? That would drive me nuts.
I cannot do that.
I can't stand that.
It
drives me absolutely nuts.
I appreciate that the feature's there, but I just can't do it.
I've done it once or twice.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes weird because sometimes, at least in the Apple one, when you play it faster, they do a good job of not making the voice sound that much different. So I don't know it's not terrible. It's weird, but it's not like you expected like Minnie Mouse, and it's not really like that.
Yeah. And then, this is pretty typical features of a lot of the podcatchers. The other thing I like is the up next cue that you could do is you tap it. It brings up an episode, and then maybe you want to create yourself a queue of multiple different podcasts. And I've done that many times. I've gone on road trips and put a bunch of shows that I shouldn't be fumbling around. But of course, CarPlay makes it a little easier because you can get right to the app from CarPlay. But I think there's just so many podcatchers out there. But I think notably those are probably our top 3 or 4 that I think that I really like a lot. So. But I'll have all the links of all these apps in the show notes. But let us know what podcatcher you like, and you like how you listen to us. And I think according to my records, I think most people are using Apple Podcasts, which is great. That's fine. But there's plenty of other ways of listening. So to any podcast for that matter. So
can you see? Can't you see as a podcaster what people are listening on? I thought there was a way.
Yes, I can. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think Jeff knows that too. Yeah, it gives you stats, and it tells us which method you are using to listen to it. And because this is an Apple-centric podcast, makes only sense that it's the Apple Podcast app is one of the more popular ones.
And it's there on your phone already.
I mean,
that's why. Do
people with non-Apple products listen to podcasts?
Sure.
Do they?
I mean, we did it. There's an aggregator out there called Good Pods. I interviewed the founder of that service a while ago, and there are podcast aggregators like that service that really appeal more to just more to other topics.
I've never heard
like crime junkies.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I've never heard an Android user say they listen to podcasts ever.
There are a lot of Android users that listen to podcasts, and you'd be surprised at how many people listen to podcasts in the web browser on their computer.
Okay.
In the web browser, we get stats. I get stats.
Big way to consume
really
podcasts.
But it started with Apple. I think Apple created the concept of the podcast. I don't want to.
Yeah, well, Apple coined the term. Well, or actually,
it was Adam Curry. I think it was.
Curry. But it's based on the
Podfather.
iPod.
It's based on an
podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast, so it's a term, and
iPod broadcast becomes podcast.
I have an Android tablet, and there's no default podcast app on there. Like, so if I wanted to listen to a podcast, I would have to.
Well, Google has its own. They do now.
They do now, but it doesn't come on. It's not there by default.
You have to. Yeah, you got to go to the Play Store and get it. But
I should check my Fire tablet, see if it has a podcast app pre-installed.
I don't think that I had a Fire tablet. I don't recall it ever having it.
I have one for testing, and of course, the first thing I did was go through the hoops to get the Google Play Store to show up.
That's what I did too. And then
exactly. Oh yeah.
And then you realize it's too slow to even bother doing anything with it, and it sits in a drawer. I have 3 in a drawer right now that just kind of sit there doing nothing. I tried to give them to my family; they didn't want it. Like my in-laws, they're like me.
Yeah, it's great for the testing that I need to do, but
I got this. I got this guy here. It's a Samsung Tab 8.
I got to go to a different topic. God.
Man,
How do you have one of those?
Lauren, what is wrong with you?
Science. It's all for science.
It's like saying, I'm sitting here and look, I've got this horse's head, and just lifting that up and showing it to us.
I do. Hold on.
This is just really disturbing.
All right, I want to move to one last topic here. I have a tip here. I think many of you know the fact that you can use your Apple Watch to actually use one of the most useful Mac features that a lot of people aren't probably using, and that's the fact that you actually can unlock your Mac with your Apple Watch. And that's just an awesome thing, because if you ever want to walk up to your Mac and I've got Touch ID on my keyboard on both places here, but a lot of times it's nice. You just gotta walk right up to walk right up to it, and it unlocks. And a couple things you need in order to be able to do this: you need to be able to have a Mac that's compatible to it. And you also have to have the ability to be able to go into the settings. And I think it's like, I think it was Series 3 and higher, or it could be even Series 4 and higher, that you have to have the Apple Watch that's compatible to it.
I'm pretty sure Series 3 works.
Series 3 works. So, which is still current for now. So then you go into the settings in your Mac, and then it goes into the system preferences, and then under security and privacy, and you can go into there, and you check off unlock with my Apple Watch. And as long as the Apple Watch is on the same network wherever you are, or if it senses it, it's going to unlock it. I don't know if do you guys utilize that at all for your Mac?
You also have to say a little prayer, by the way, when you first turn it on, that it's going to work, because 90% of the times it says cannot communicate with the Apple Watch, and then you reboot everything, and maybe it comes back. I do it. Really, I don't lock my Mac so much, but I use it more when you install apps and things. It will allow you to double click the watch to allow the install of it too. So it allows a few things to happen with the Apple Watch.
Do you have time for me to add a bonus tip to go along with using Apple Watch to unlock your Mac?
I do.
Okay, so if you're like me and you need to have a wired Ethernet connection to make sure you always have the bandwidth you need, you need to have Wi-Fi turned on to use your Apple Watch to unlock, and it has to be on your network. Mm-hmm. So leave Wi-Fi on, let it connect to the network, go into the network settings on your Mac, and rearrange the order so your Ethernet connection is higher. It's at the top of the list. And then when your Mac is connected to Ethernet, then that is going to be the default connection. But since Wi-Fi is still on and it's connected through Wi-Fi, all the other stuff for handoff and Apple Watch unlocking still works.
Yep. Because you can't turn off Wi-Fi, or you'll lose a lot of that functionality. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yep.
So good extra bonus tip. Thank you, Jeff.
I've got your back.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I ended up getting the touch keyboard, the Touch ID keyboard for the Mac Mini, and that's a life changer. So I suggest that too.
You mean this one here?
Yeah, everyone I know that has a Mac that can use the Touch ID keyboard like that.
Oh, this one.
They just rave about that. Yeah.
It's. I mean, it was definitely something I was eyeing for a while, and I finally got. And then I was in.
Me too.
I was in the Apple store, and they had the Space Black, the new black trackpad that comes with the new Studio that you could get.
I certainly hope you didn't buy that.
I tried. They didn't have it in stock, and then I went to Best Buy. They didn't have it in stock either, and I'm like, yeah, maybe it's a sign.
Have you considered just taking a black Sharpie to one of these?
I have. I don't even have one of those. I actually got this from.
He doesn't have a Sharpie.
I do. This is a Saatchi mouse. That
The way the light was hitting it, I thought you had at first one of the really old school Mighty Mouse.
No,
mice.
Almost look like
it's a Saatchi, which is nice. And a little trick with this one is the you couldn't write. It didn't have a swipe function, but you could. There's a program I found that will allow you to assign actions to key the buttons, and I think that's working for me too. So
Nice.
Good deal.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show. I've had a few people support the show this past week. I really appreciate it. You know who you are. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DaveG65. And you can also watch and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we talked about this week are going to be flipped. And you can go to there and check that list. And that's part of our show notes as well. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocketcasts and Downcast and Overcast, but also on Apple Podcasts, which I always say every week, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Jeff, thanks for being here as always. We really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks for letting me come back again and again. I do have so much fun with both of you. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, jgamet on both, youtube.com/jgamet for my videos. I actually did stop and think about that for a second.
We need a new video from you.
I know. I've just had so much going on.
I know.
But I have a whole Trello full of stuff that I need to make. So I need to really start working through that. Yeah, you mentioned Context Machine. Grant Chaffin and I have teamed up.
Yes.
And we have Context Machine. Tuesdays, Mac Voices Live, here with you on Thursdays. Also the Big Show on Thursdays and the Mac Show on Fridays. And other stuff. I kind of get around.
You do get around. Thanks again. And Warren Sklar, thank you as always for being here. Where can people find you?
here. That's about it. Here, and when a wife travels, sometimes on Tuesdays, there too. But Facebook Mac to the Future group is still chugging.
Pretty active.
Yeah, I mean it's drama free, which is the way to go these days.
That just sounds really nice. Drama free.
It is. It really is.
Yes.
I mean, it's super. It's like, I mean, it's one of the. It's less drama than any social network that I've ever seen or been on or anything like that. It's very, very drama free and just very geared towards people just talking about tech. So it's good.
All right. And I want to thank everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk again soon.